Managed intelligence is a transformation, but it's in addition to what you're already doing. They're still going to need the lights on. You're still going to have endpoints. You're still going to need patch management. They're still going to need security. They're still going to need all of that. This is just a fundamental shift in how you actually are communicating and understanding your customers. So I think this is the biggest shift in the industry. But now the other problem is, okay, great, this sounds awesome. And now my customer's stickier. How do I make money off of it? There's so many MRR opportunities around AI. It's unbelievable.
Hey guys, Damian Stevens, host of MSP Mindset, and I am incredibly excited to be live at PAX 8 with Chance Weaver. And you have a very interesting title that probably didn't exist a few years ago. Vice President of AI Adoption for PAX 8.
Absolutely.
Is that right? So I want to get into that, but before I do, you're no stranger to being an MSP. Can you give us the quick landscape of your building VAR and building an MSP?
Yeah. So first, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have the conversation. Really excited to talk a little bit about this role and the opportunity that's presented, not just for me, but for the partners that we're going to be serving.
Yeah.
But I come from the other side of the table. I mean, I was at the last Beyond as a partner. I served on the Partner Advisory Council for PAX 8. So I've been in technology ever since I was out of high school. Joined the military, I was in the Navy, did electronic warfare. Out of the Navy, I got my degree in electronic engineering, and I worked on a bunch of projects, and when I would solve the project, I had nothing to do. So I learned about building computer networks so I could play Warcraft 2 with the engineers that I worked with.
There you go.
And then a company in Huntington Beach, California needed a network set up, and I made like $15,000 in one weekend setting up their network. Quit my job on Monday and started my own company.
I'm definitely listening to you now, because I remember when I started, it wasn't $15,000 in a weekend, so you're already doing something different.
Back then, there was a lot of money in hardware.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, this is like, 1997 maybe? So that there was you need to go buy the computer parts, put them together, and there was a ton of money in that. And that company was called Platinum PC, and the reason it was called Platinum PC is I didn't have another customer for 3 months, and I was living off of my Platinum card.
Is that really true?
It's really true.
I love that.
I finally got that going and everything like that, but then Dell and HP killed the whole VAR market. We did a little bit of service, but not much. So I sold that company for not a lot of money because it wasn't super profitable when I did. And I started just a pure services business called IT Responsive, 2006.
Okay. And it was IT
Responsive.
Okay.
I'm based out of Southern California, so we were in Irvine, California at the time. And, for a long time, it was like a break fix, working for a job, had a couple of employees, making good money, but, it wasn't really truly a business. Finally converted to managed services around 2013, 2014 timeframe, and then it just took off. It was amazing. I didn't believe in, actually billing customers in advance. I felt like I was ripping them off, and it was the opposite. Having visibility and being able to solve problems before they became big problems was like a game changer. So worked really hard to solidify the stack and make sure that we were super efficient. I was an engineer, so efficiency was everything for me. Mm-hmm. And teaching people how to troubleshoot logically. And we had a really good culture around whatever it takes to never see that ticket again. So anytime we got a ticket, spend all the effort you can so we never see that ticket again. You know what I mean? So that's efficiency. Because if you just Band-Aid it and it comes back, then that's inefficient.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we were incredibly profitable and did really well. In fact, so in 2021, I sold to New Charter Technologies. I wasn't planning on it, but the model intrigued me. You can still run your company. You can still, and it was amazing. At first, I didn't believe it. And so I went through the process. I even went through due diligence. I thought it was just I didn't think it was going to go through. I didn't tell anybody. I did it all myself, all the due diligence.
Wow.
And when it finally happened, it was super anticlimactic. You have a phone call. Do you agree? Do you agree? Yes, yes. Next thing you know, you have a bunch of money in your bank account.
Wire transfer.
Oh, yeah. But nothing changed because you get to run your own business. You keep your own brand.
That's huge.
And so it was like everything kept rolling. But
turns out Peter Milby's method's pretty sharp.
Yeah, Peter's a great guy. I love Peter. I love everyone in that room. The most amazing group of people I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
hopefully this will top that. Like, but because I've known these guys for a long time. And well, IT Responsive, fun fact, they became a Pax8 partner in 2015. So we were an early partner, and at the time we were probably doing maybe $60,000 a month with Microsoft. So back then we were a big Pax8 partner.
Yeah.
And so I've known the entire leadership group here at Pax8 forever. And then when I sold the new charter, I managed the Microsoft practice, which included the relationship with Pax8.
Oh, wow.
So, and all of them. Like
so you became
Ingram,
a much bigger partner.
Much bigger partner. Yeah, I think when I left New Charter, we were doing about $40 million with Microsoft a year at New Charter. And they're doing more now. I was the 11th company, and I think they're at 35 or something like that now.
Could be.
I still am probably the most profitable company they ever acquired. So I think we were at 27% EBITDA when they acquired us. So efficiency, like I said, efficiency was everything. But so I bring an interesting, fun fact. So then I retired in December. Like I'm like, I made some great investments with that money. I loved running the Microsoft practice, had some great relationships, but I'm like, I always said I would retire when I was 50. A little bit late, but I was able to make it happen. I'm 50. I'm about to turn 52.
Oh, wow.
And so I did. And my wife opened a restaurant, and I have a meat company, like a meat distribution company, tons of Airbnb properties. So just did really well. I didn't really need to work anymore. But when I was leaving New Charter, I was at an event with Nick Heddy, and he was like, wait, why don't you come and work at Pax8? I'm like, there's no way I'm ever going to work at Pax8. I mean, I'm an MSP. To me, that feels like going to the dark side, right?
Right.
And I'm like, no, man, that's not going to be. So, okay, well, call me if you get bored or whatever, or maybe I'll reach out to you. Well, we ended up connecting a couple months ago. And he's like, I think we have a role for you that you would be interested in. And then I ended up meeting with like pretty much every leader in Pax8 and talking about the idea behind the role. And then I started to form a plan, like a thought. And I got really excited about the opportunity to help a lot of partners in a place where I think they're struggling. And I think a lot of partners are overcomplicating it. It's really not that complicated. And I'm like, I think I can help. Like, I think I can do something really amazing. And so, yeah, I'm back working and doing a lot of, and the interesting thing is what's so great about Pax8 is they wanted that perspective from the other side of the table. They wanted someone that come in that understood the pain of the MSP and could really translate that into something that they could provide back to MSPs that would make a difference. I think they've tried.
That's what we should see more of, right? That's exactly what we should see more of.
I think so. And that's part of the go ahead, I'm sorry.
No worries. How did you go from the retired guy to the guy that's going to lead AI adoption? Because I don't know if you're playing with AI, but like I think retired, and I think, hands off the wheel for years. And obviously AI changes faster than anything, it seems like.
It does. But I still played around a lot with tech, even when I was retired. You can only e-foil and paddleboard so much. I use this tool called Sim Theory. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Sim Theory?
Yeah. It's really cool. You have access to every model, and you can still protect your data. And so, I paid for that. And I did a lot of really cool things. I was building my own agents and doing some things. I was contacted by a lot of friends that owned MSPs, and they wanted my input and consulting, and I was doing like a lot of free consulting and helping them kind of build out a strategy around this, kind of just like a side thing, and I was having a lot of fun. But I never kind of completely got out of the game, right? And then at New Charter, I ran the Microsoft practice, but then Copilot was released, right? And then Foundry was released. So by default, I also became the go-to-market strategist for AI with New Charter. So I wasn't, I was kind of already going down that path, primarily with a Microsoft focus, and Pax8's much more agnostic. But no, I was playing a lot with AI, and I'm still a tech at heart.
Yeah. So I literally had somebody walking by, just chatting with them, and they're like, I'm struggling with what to do with AI. Like, what do I do there? And since you're heading up AI adoption, give me your thoughts on like, what should an MSP be doing right now? I got people that think it can solve every problem right now. I got people on the opposite end of the spectrum that are like, I'm just going to wait to be told, and I don't have any still don't know what to do. I'm going to wait probably to be the laggard without using those words. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on where we are right now and what I should be thinking as an MSP?
Well, you're going to hear this a lot, but I don't think anyone's really putting a lot of meat around it. Is, hey, you have to become a consultant to your customer now, right? I mean, MSPs, especially smaller MSPs, have historically struggled with that. Even large platform MSPs struggle with actually understanding what your customers do from a business perspective.
Right.
You almost have to become a business consultant. And that's where I think it scares MSPs a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, okay, AI, like they say they want AI. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean for you? What does that mean for your customer? And the idea is, it's really not complicated. You talk, what sucks in your business? What's the problem you're having in your business? What's something you could change in your business, Mr. Customer? And then if we're able to fix that, what does that mean? How much money you're going to save? What efficiency you're going to gain? What does it mean from a dollars and cents standpoint? And then there's a lot of meat in between those two things. And then you map out the process, you figure out how to apply technology around it, and guess what? It's not always going to be AI. But now you need to understand that. But MSPs are like, I can't do business consulting. I can't map out all my customers' processes. No.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Yeah.
Get the win. Pick one. And well, how do I scale that? Well, what I want to do is build out a toolkit on how to do that for MSPs. Mm-hmm. I want to build co-sell capability inside of Pax8 where we can help smaller MSPs do it. Mm-hmm. I'm working on building an innovation group of MSPs that are already the tip of the spear. They're already building agents and they're having some success to really flush out how we can do it better and faster. And then when you have the smaller MSP and we can co-sell with them, we can do some basic agentic stuff from a pro services standpoint from a Pax8 perspective. But the larger projects, we can feed up to that innovation group. And now that it becomes a partner-to-partner engagement, we're able to help that. And then all the wins and losses on both sides of that equation feed each other. Mm. We create a feedback loop. And it's going to be constantly evolving and constantly changing, just like AI. Yeah. But it's not complicated. It's not scary. You just have to be willing to have a different conversation with your customer.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I was just chatting with MSP earlier asking about that, and I said, how are your conversations going? And they're like, well, we have QBRs, and the customers ask about AI, and I'm like, so what do you do? And they're like, I don't know. And it's that gap in consulting, like you're saying, because all you have to do, I say all, but what you need to do, right, is ask what hurts, where's the biggest opportunity, or even just what are you hearing that you think you want to implement that, or what's getting implemented that you don't know of, or, there's all these challenges, right? So I think just viewing it from a business consultant mindset is a huge shift. But I'd love your take on this because I'm excited about this because an MSP has, most of us, if we're being honest, we're cost centers. Mm-hmm. A few of us rose to be past that, but very few of us, I think. And so it was really just who can keep my stuff running and who can be the most invisible. And now you have the opportunity to not just talk about reducing costs for them, but perhaps even drive either EBITDA or even top line, and just have different conversations, have real business conversations. So if I'm excited for one thing around AI, it's really because this is your opportunity to step in a business perspective, and whether it's technology, whether it's AI, whether it's something else, just understand their business better. What are your thoughts on that? And why is that so hard for us that grew up in managed services?
Well, I mean, being a former tech, the reason why it's so hard is because we're sending techs in to have QBRs, right?
Yes.
And they're just, we're data guys, and we sit in our little, silos, and we know our stuff.
To make the QBR easier, right? So it just produces a report.
Here's what we've done for you lately, right? Yeah. They don't care.
Yeah.
The conversation should always start in a QBR of, hey, how's business?
Yeah.
What's good? What's bad? Really? Why is that bad? Mm-hmm. Like, if you could fix that, what would that mean? Mm-hmm. And start diving out, and then they're engaged. Then they want to have that conversation again. Because how hard is it for MSPs to get the customer to even engage in a QBR to begin with?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But if it's a different conversation and you're bringing actual value to their business, then you're not a commodity. Yeah, you still got to keep the lights on, and there's still a lot of money there. And I'm not saying change your business model. I'm saying add to it. Managed intelligence is a transformation, but it's in addition to what you're already doing. They're still going to need the lights on. You're still going to have endpoints. You're still going to need patch management. They're still going to need security. They're still going to need all of that. This is just a fundamental shift in how you actually are communicating and understanding your customers. So I think this is the biggest shift in the industry. But now the other problem is, okay, great, this sounds awesome. And now my customer is stickier. How do I make money off of it?
Yeah.
There's so many MRR opportunities around AI. It's unbelievable. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to build out options on how to actually bill for it on a reoccurring basis, different models, but depending on what you're doing for a customer, with real world examples and how it's working for MSPs that are already, starting to do some of these things, and give partners the ability to expand out their reoccurring revenues. And guess what? If you're doing measurable outcomes for your customers, they're going to have no problem paying for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're literally showing the ROI. You're making that ROI with them at the before the project even actually gets started.
Yeah. That's huge, right? Because usually it's just like you got to have IT, right? You got to have whatever it is that we've been selling. And now you can talk about ROI before you even invest.
Absolutely.
Not after, which is all the difference in the world. Do you think that reselling what we're doing, Microsoft 365, for example, or maybe even providing managed services in some years becomes what hardware is to us now? Meaning that we used to build, we talked about used to build, right? You made money building. I remember we built computers. It sounds crazy nowadays. My son, he can't understand it. He's much younger, right? He doesn't understand why we have this little small hole in the wall that's not RJ45. It's a little bit smaller. And so it's crazy to think about the time. So do you think that managed services become so foundational that the value moves up and it becomes a little bit like hardware, a little bit more commoditized?
I don't think so. I think you're still going to have humans that are going to be overseeing AI. I think you'll have agents that need security and they need to be managed just like endpoints need to be managed today.
Yeah.
I think it'll go through a transformation, but I think the model is always going to have relevance, right? I think it's just going to shift and it's going to transform a little bit. You might have less endpoints, but now you're managing agents, or customers are renting agents from you that you're building, or you're able to sell those agents in an agentic marketplace that Pax8's talking about putting together. I think those fundamental things that we do, there's always going to be a need for them at some point, at least right now. When they start putting chips in people, well, I guess then we have to manage people, right? So they're still going to need security.
Yeah.
We don't want them getting hacked.
Different level of security there. All right. Hate to have to reboot Damien again. Yeah. What would you say? I get so many people come to me and then just I don't know where to start. I just don't know. I was talking to one of these gentlemen earlier, and he's like, I feel it's changed so fast, I'm overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, if you feel overwhelmed, imagine how your customer feels.
Right.
So where do I start as an MSP?
Well, it starts by having those conversations with your customer, and you're going to have a lot of SMB customers that have no idea what lever they need to pull in their business. Their head's down just like your head's down.
That's right.
And that's an opportunity to spend a little time and dive deeper. And I'm not talking about days or hours. I'm talking about spread out in the organization and ask the same question to different people, the people that are actually on, not just the CEO or the director of IT, the people that are on the front lines working with the customers or building the product or doing the R&D, and ask them what sucks. 9 times out of 10, actually 10 times out of 10, what they think sucks and what the CEO thinks sucks, two completely different things.
Very different.
But it's fun coming back to the CEO and saying, so which one do you think moves the needle more? Which one do we need to focus on? And then just pick that one and work through it. I think that's a great place to start, because even if you don't understand AI, starting to hash out some of those problems inside of your customers, and then talking to people like Pax8 that's building out this program, or other partners and peer groups and things like that, you can start finding out how we can apply technology to those types of problems.
Yeah, interesting. So how do we, both as, maybe we'll get to the client side, but even as an MSP, just as a human, deal with this hype, right? Because depending on who you talk to, AI can do everything. And talk to the next guy and can do nothing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, here at Pax8, beyond 2025, AI is in so many different talks, in so many different facets. Mm-hmm. And there's so much buzzwords. So how do we grapple with that? How do we start to understand what's real and get past buzzword soup and kind of the hype, and just from a business perspective, what do I guess what I'm asking, if I can say this a little more clearly, as a business owner, if I were looking at peers or talking to others that are maybe best in their field in AI or whatnot, what would I be looking for? What do I see happening? Because some of the things are not quite there yet, mm-hmm. and some of them are really driving value.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. if I was speaking to an end customer today, and they are wondering, hey, what's AI? Or you'll sometimes just, I need AI in my business. Can you sell me ChatGPT?
Right.
I heard that in a Microsoft exec meeting today. I'm like, that's you need to understand, AI has been around for a long time. AI is the same thing. It's self-writing code. It's the same thing that how the computer learned to play chess.
That's right.
Right? What changed was the amount of data we could use to change those or to train those models.
Right.
Now you have the internet and all the data that we put against it. AI is still stupid. It's still input-output. It's just self-writing code in between. The neural network is just self-writing code, essentially, is what it is. But then you can stack models, and you have this processing capability to do more and more of it at scale and at a faster speed. So it looks super intelligent. It's not. You know what I mean? It's not a human. Mm-hmm. One human neuron in your brain has more processing power than the most powerful neural network that exists today, right? Mm-hmm. So understanding that AI is just technology, right? It can do some amazing things, but it's still stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? True artificial intelligence is still science fiction.
Yeah. I
mean, with quantum computing and some of the other technologies and, unlimited power, nuclear fission, but some of the things that are, it's, who knows if it will ever reach sentience or have that capability where it can really figure out things from a level that a human can. I don't ever see that happening, to be honest. But just understanding, it's a tool to improve your business. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a tool where humans can, I love this example. Here's an AI example from 7 years ago. Okay, and it's not really AI. It turned out to be a business intelligence thing. But I had a customer, and I just went to lunch with the CEO. Actually, he wasn't even my customer yet. It was a friend that I coached his kid in football, and he had a $300 million distribution company. And we just went to lunch, and he was telling me about this problem, how he has all these different systems because they were a moving company, but they do corporate moves, they do executive moves, they do, home moves, they do personal moves, and it's all through different systems. And then they own Atlas.net, which is a whole nother system. And so they had this team of 11 people pulling data from all these systems, and they had customers like Intel and Toyota, and they went to meet with them and present this data that they've been pulling from all the systems about their corporate moves and their executive moves and whatever it was. And 9 times out of 10, the customer had better data than they did. Wow. And so he was so frustrated and embarrassed. And I'm like, well, why don't we just dump that all into a data warehouse, and I'll give you a BI dashboard that you can put on top of it. You can give your customers access to it where they can log in and look at their own information, and you can walk in with an iPad and show them. He's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, and it's not even complicated. It's not even an expensive project. It's relatively easy to do. And we did it. I mean, it was probably maybe a $30,000 project. Those 11 people were so freaking happy. They all got repurposed in the organization. They hated that job. AI is going to take away those types of crappy jobs and give people the ability to do things that are creative and fun. Mm-hmm. When you're managing AI, and now, like, I loved what Scott said on the stage, when ideas become powerful, you know what I mean? Now, anybody can do anything. You know, you're not stuck in your day-to-day desk job, like just crunching numbers. You know what I mean? You can do something with that, or finding creative ways. Because you have people that are great with numbers. Well, what if you could be super creative with an enormous amount of data and come to decisions so much faster than you could before, without doing all the menial crap to get there? Yeah. So I'm excited about where AI is going to go, to be honest.
Yeah, sure. I talked to an MSP earlier that said they got rid of pretty much all their L1.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple
that did that with AI. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? My point is, I can see some people saying that's amazing. That's huge win on the P&L and EBITDA. I can see that could be a real challenge to maintain relationships with your customers when you've kind of handed that off. Like I see things like that, and I guess my point is, do you see that kind of level of change happening as going to be something that's going to be normal with that level of change, or is that kind of an outlier?
No, actually, I think that'll become very normal. Like the lower end spectrum of jobs. So here's the interesting thing, because I've thought about this a little bit. Okay, great. You got rid of all your L1s. How are you going to get L2s and L3s? Like,
exactly.
How are you going to
Where do they come from?
So I think again, that's going to be a transition where you're going to actually have to have L1s that'll be a backstop for all of the AI. So you can deploy a bunch of agents that are doing L1 work, and they're triaging tickets, and they're able to solve the basic stuff, or give the customer what they need, or at least escalate it to the right department in your organization. That's going to happen. But you still need to be able to bring guys in and get them up to speed and go through that.
Yeah.
But they could be overseeing those L1 tickets. And, because I don't think any AI is 100% perfect. There's hallucinations. There's all kinds of things. Catching those types of problems while they're studying and learning and being involved in real world and shadowing some of those level 2 and level 3s. And I think that'll move up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I think it evolves to is, imagine an MSP that you have all your L1 and L2 tech, but you have L1 and L2 techs that are backstopping this, but you have this amazing group of L3 engineers and account managers and all of the, VCIOs and everything that are interacting, client-facing, but all of the menial stuff that people hated to do, like, I got to get how many tickets done today, that's gone.
Yeah.
You just have that group of individuals that you're grooming and allowing to grow into the role, like the quarterback that's able to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years, and then he takes the field and he can actually play. You know what I mean? So I think there's going to be a lot more of that.
Right. So there will still be L1s, just a lot less.
Probably. I mean, I think it's going to have to evolve to that. Like, how are they ever going to become level 2 or level 3 guys?
Right. What do you see as, obviously, I want to talk about opportunity. Before we get there, I want to talk about threat. I've had MSPs say, what do I do when Microsoft rolls out the next version of Windows that's basically got all the L1 built in? Mm-hmm. And my help desk calls drop 50%. There's some that are excited because they think they're going to be more profitable, and others that are going, well, I might be getting paid less all of a sudden. What are your thoughts on how we'll cope as an industry, and if there's any probability of that type of scenario?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's part of the transition, right? It's the transformation we're talking about. Yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of stuff that Windows will be able to do itself, right?
Yeah.
It'll have a built-in agent to solve 80% of the problems that's great. Because if you're already having the conversations with your customer about their business and how you can actually wrap AI technologies and monetize that from a reoccurring standpoint, then who cares if you're not doing level 1 help desk tickets anymore, right? If you think about it the right way, it ends up being a win-win for everybody. Mm-hmm. My son worked for me for a little while. Like, he's 27 now, and he actually is in IT. He's a level 3 engineer at a company in San Diego, but not an MSP. But he got out of the MSP world.
Yeah.
Because I wanted a lot of tickets done. But he hated being a level 1.
Yeah.
It was miserable.
Right.
He couldn't wait until he was able. He was studying and training because he was so sick of taking those annoying, level 1 calls. Right? I mean, that's what AI is going to get rid of, the stuff that people hate to do.
Yeah. Let's talk on the opportunity side. What are MSPs missing out on now? And where are they? For example, it seems like most are kind of taking either I'll resell ChatGPT or Copilot slightly, very, very basic, kind of dipping their toe in, little to nothing. So where do you think some people may be missing the opportunity right now?
Well, I think if you're flipping on Copilot for a customer, you're completely missing the point of AI. Yeah. That's not the point of AI, right? Unless they're working in Excel or Teams so much that it's going to really make a huge difference for their business, that's not what you should be looking at. Yep. What if you can build an agent that ties into a line of business applications and then Copilot becomes really meaningful? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? What about their data? Is their data on-prem? Is it sitting on a server in Azure? Is it something that you can move into a cloud repository that they can actually tie it into Copilot and get actionable information around it? Do you have compliance? And if you do you have sensitivity labeling? So there's that. And then once you get that set up and you've created a data structure and you've done all of that, who's managing that? When someone moves something out of that repository and it's not supposed to be moved, or if they're not on E5 as an example, using Microsoft as an example, and you don't have auto labeling, well, how is that being managed? So there's a managed service you can build around manage data, manage data governance. And it doesn't have to be expensive, but it definitely should be part of your security stack if you're going to put your customer in type of any AI solution. But imagine you move the data, now you have a little bit of managed services around that. You have that process that's an actionable, that has a measurable outcome for your customer. You apply AI, and you're monetizing that. You're either renting the agent, or you do the old, the old software model, or hey, we were going to build it for you, but then we get 20% for 3 years as to manage it, like if APIs change, or if we have to go in, or if there's a lot of different ways to monetize it. There's multiple ways to do it, and it could be a combination of a lot of things depending on what your customer's looking for, or your customer's adversity to cost. There's different ways that might be cheaper. I'm just going to rent them the agent, but it's my IP. You know what I mean? And then you sell it to other companies that do the same thing. Yeah. There's so much opportunity there. Yeah. It's just I'm excited about and believe it or not, like there's this idea that you'll have some MSPs that die, maybe. You know what I mean? I think the smaller MSPs, it's such a grind. It's just hard to like lift your head up and like have that conversation with your customer. Cool. Schedule a call, we'll have it for you. Yeah. You know what I mean? We'll help get you the revenue and get you to the point where you can start doing that yourself and you can start growing that internally. But until you can, we'll catch that low-hanging fruit with you, and then, we'll feed the larger opportunities, but we still are doing meaningful things for your customers.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to get out of that tiny.
Oh, I remember. Ground. Oh man, do I remember? Yeah. I've had more all-nighters in my life than any man should have.
Right. What about what should I be thinking through as an MSP to lean into this? Because you mentioned building things, talking about the old software development model. Like, do I need to be thinking about having AI developers or agentic developers? And as an example, I'm doing LinkedIn Live every other week, and I'm making my first full-time AI hire, and I'm just building in the open. I'm talking about what I'm doing and what I'm paying them, and I've outlined what they're going to do the first 90 days, and I get to report and see if they actually do it. Who knows? If we're still in the middle we're still going through the hiring process, and I get to show, like, was it ROI? Because I see so many questions around this. So my point is, I don't have the answers. Hopefully you do. But my point is, like, I'm leaning in. I'm making my first hire and saying we're doing things with this for a whole lot of reasons. But my point is, what else should I be doing? I think I heard that
on one of your podcasts, actually.
What else should we be doing as an MSP to lean in and take advantage of this opportunity?
It depends on your bandwidth and your capability and your revenue and what you're trying to accomplish right now. What I'm saying is, there's some people that will tell you, hey, you need to transform your business before you can start thinking about transforming your customers. I don't believe that. I think you can do it in parallel. Yeah. I think what an MSP has to do internally from a transformation standpoint it's not going to translate to most of your customers, right? That's right. It's not going to translate. So I think you can do it together. I think that you just really, the first thing is start having the conversations, right? Mm-hmm. And then start learning how to apply technology around it and realize what's a potential AI opportunity versus what isn't. And they're both opportunities, and they're both going to make your customer stickier. So I don't necessarily, now if you have the capability and bandwidth, hiring someone to drive that AI conversation, absolutely. It's a great idea. I mean, that's why I'm here at PAX 8, having people that literally are evangelizing the idea behind it and really pushing it and creating a program inside of your business to actually do some of the things that I'm talking about. Great. If you don't. That's what PAX 8's here for, to do some of those things for you.
Yeah. I love the fact that you kind of came out of retirement, but more importantly, they were the MSP, because there's certainly, it would be easy to try to snag somebody from on high in education, or maybe one of the big MSP or big AI agencies, and try to bring them in, but you're not going to understand the MSP world. So I love that you're here, because the answers you're giving, like, have those conversations, align with what I see needs to happen in the market, right? Doesn't mean I'm right, but at least I agree with you. So I love.
Could be another thing that I'm screwing up. I have no idea.
We'll be wrong together on that one. So, any last parting words of wisdom for folks that are struggling with, like, AI, my client? How do I do this? Mm-hmm. It's just there's I think we're all humans. We all have some fear.
Get rid of the fear. This is an exciting time. It's an exciting opportunity. If your customers aren't talking about it, talk to your customers about it.
Yeah.
Start having those deeper conversations. It can't hurt. Even if AI is just a fantasy and it doesn't really come to fruition, which we all know that's not going to happen. But the process, it's literally something that we always wanted to be good at, but we're never good at as an MSP. Well, now you kind of have to be good at it. So just do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'll have happier customers. Your conversations will be less transactional. You'll become more sticky. When bad things happen, and they happen, your customer's not going to care because you've made transformational differences in their business. You know what I mean? They'll be more forgiving. So I think, and it's always been a relationship-based business.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to change. But I think the relationships have to get a little deeper.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because it's obvious, but it's easy to miss. It's still about relationships, and as technology, especially AI, moves faster, the fact that you're kind of wrapping this up on it's always been about relationships, and it still is, I think is easy to miss. And I think adopting AI and get on the new things and start to understand them, but also get the opposite side of that, right? The barbell strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? What do I adopt to make sure that's not what's not going to be different in 10 years is people still want a relationship with a human that they can trust.
And same opportunity for your customers. Mm-hmm. It's going to give them the ability to develop deeper relationships and understanding with their customers.
Yes.
I think it's exciting. Yes. I'm stoked to see how, in 5 years, everything's going to look different. It's going to look awesome.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, I think we've reached a maturity level as MSPs. I think sometimes we've forgotten how much we struggled to build PCs or how often networks went down.
I haven't forgotten.
Right. You remember, I do, but maybe some of the more recent ones, no. And my point is building, having those conversations, I think there's sometimes fear, I don't know the AI answers. They don't either. Yeah. Let's get on the path together.
Absolutely.
Right? Figure it out, because nobody really knows all the answers. And whatever they are, they'll change. Yeah, maybe you do. So that's it.
I don't.
Right. What's the best way that people can follow you, figure out what you and Pax8 are doing from an AI perspective, for anybody that would like to connect with you, get more engaged, make sure they don't miss kind of your thought leadership from an AI perspective?
Absolutely. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect with partners. You can message me on LinkedIn. That's probably right now the best way while I'm working out the foundation. I mean, I've been at Pax8 for a month. I'm still at Pax8 is a much larger beast than I came from, and I came from a pretty large company. Yeah. So, it's interesting. I'm drinking through a fire hose a little bit, but I'm planning on moving fast. This is something that has to move fast. By Q3, I want to have something that's been tested with a group of partners that is actionable, that we can actually move on, and I want to be able to prove that it can make a difference for partners. So reach out to me. I'm trying to find people that want to be tip of the spear, that are interested in this, people that will help me test out my program. I'm really looking to engage with partners and do something amazing.
Yeah. You heard it here, guys. Don't miss out the opportunity to connect with Chance. Chance, thank you so much for being on MSP Mindset.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
Yeah.